Another issue that I wanted to talk about, on here is basically about environmental racism. Now, if you don't understand what environmental racism is, basically these first world countries polluting the whole of the earth, and then it's countries such as in Africa and in the Caribbean who are facing the brunt of what's going on. Glow and Afro, welcome to my channel. But I wanted to talk about, environmental racism because I saw one foolish tweet on Twitter this week that really pissed me off. It basically said, global warming is a white person's issue, and I thought to myself, the absolutely audacity of that foolishness to come out of your mouth. You've got to be kidding. It's not a white person's issue, nothing. Listen, let me tell you the facts realistically. If you really understood how global warming works, part of it is not just to do with the earth in general hotting up, because this is what it does. It does hot up. It does heat up itself every several years or whatever. However, we have to understand the things that we do are also having an impact on the earth, and we're not doing enough to change it in time, because the UK has said that they want to completely reduce their carbon emissions down to zero by 2050. However, you have to think about it logically. If you have this goal to do it by 2050, we may actually start seeing worse things happening in between that time. We need to do things more. The problem with these big countries such as England, America, I would say even some Asian countries, is because they're so big, they're also producing majority of the world's pollution that's going out into the atmosphere. It's destroying the ozone layer. And the problem is, how do I say it? The problem is these typically third world countries now. I know people are going to say, what do you mean by third world countries? Third world just basically means, when did your country hit the Industrial Revolution? Okay, so your third world country if you hit the Industrial Revolution later than England, America, whatever. Third world countries, such as in the Caribbean and in some countries in Africa, the problem is they're doing things to create more sustainability for their countries. However, such as getting rid of plastic and using paper straws or whatever, the straws that you put in the drink, and all they seem to do is just, they just dissolve because they're not really that good. However, they're doing all of this kind of stuff to change, to get rid of plastic and to change. But the thing is, you can do all of that, but because of the pollution that's spreading from these first world countries, it's going to hit them. And have you noticed the last few years, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, tropical storms have become more frequent. They're building up in the Atlantic Ocean, and the Atlantic Ocean is basically where a lot of these Caribbean islands are located. So whenever there's a tropical storm, it goes straight through these countries. Whenever there's a hurricane, it goes straight through these countries. And because the sea's temperature is rising yearly and daily, these countries are being massively impacted. They're doing so much to try to reduce their carbon footprint. That was the word I was looking for earlier, the carbon footprint. They're doing so much to reduce the carbon footprint. The problem is, it's not them that needs to do more to reduce the carbon footprint. It is these first world countries. And even countries in Africa being infected. I believe, what country was it? One country in Africa actually had a devastating mudslide a couple of years ago. I mean, not a couple of years ago. I believe it was last month. If I find the information, I'm going to. Thousands of people have lost their lives. I mean, the hurricane that happened in the Caribbean a couple of years ago. I believe it was in 2017. Antigua and Barbuda got hit really bad by that. I believe Dominica also got hit really bad by that. There have been tropical storms that have been hitting Barbados as well. Now, thankfully, Barbados has not really had too much damage. It's mainly a lot of flooding. But you see, these countries, they're not really, they don't really have, you know, the things that we have in these first world countries. So, you know, if we have these kind of incidents happening, we'll be able to build ourselves back up quicker because we have more resources, but they don't have resources like that. And that's not a criticism, it's just a fact. They don't have resources like that. So it makes you think about the selfishness of these first world countries to be doing all of this to pollute the frigging earth. And then they're not thinking about the consequences of the smaller countries in the world who are being impacted by environmental racism, because these are white predominant countries. And the countries that have been mainly impacted by global warming are countries that have predominantly black and brown people. So it's environmental racism, and I don't want to hear nobody telling me no nonsense about how it's not true. You can just go Google, okay? You know where Google is. Go find it. Don't come argue with me underneath my video, because I will cuss you out. Okay? I got time today. Well, actually, I don't have time today because I'm working on my dissertation, but I got time to do this video, okay? So don't bother trying me today. I'm not in the mood. But these countries are being vastly impacted, and nobody is saying, hey, is it because of the fuel and all of this kind of bullshit in these countries that's causing the majority of the global warming? Because these smaller countries, they're not the ones who are producing the most amount of fuel emissions. They're not the ones contributing to the majority of global warming. It's these large government has their plans in place. Yeah, we're going to do this by 2050. Listen, okay, you want to do it by 2050, you need to be more realistic. You may need to say, maybe we should do it by 2022. Because think about it, it's 2019 now, right? And yet things are getting worse. So what do you mean you want to reduce your carbon footprint down to 0 by 2050? That's years away. We may not even have the earth in 2050, but you want to wait until that long. Don't be freaking stupid. Look, first of all, here's some of the things. Put more of these green buses on the road, because here in the UK we have these green buses, and these green buses are they run, I believe, on electricity. What you need now is more of these green buses on the frigging roads. Not these gas guzzlers, more of these green ones. Now, I know a lot of people don't like these green buses because they're like literally dead silent. Like you can't hear them coming. That's how silent they are. However, they are fuel efficient because they don't need fuel. They run on electricity, right? Another thing that you can do is actually, you know, fix up this issue with the whole garbage, because like especially here in Birmingham, there's like garbage everywhere, and then once it gets collected, where are you taking this garbage to? Like where you actually dumping it? You know, you're gonna dump it, and then it ends up in a river, and then the river leads into the sea. You see, and then it's just contributing more and more bullshit. And for those of you who are at home, the things you can do is like when you have a tap that's running, turn it off. Don't waste that water, because it could give it. You can like be at the end of the year and they say that, oh, by the way, water is running very low, but you turning the tap on to brush your teeth, right? Turn it on, get your little water, turn it back off again, put the toothpaste on the toothbrush, and then re-wet it. That's what you need to do. You don't need to leave it running that whole time, because this is what I started doing myself. I turn the tap on, wet my toothbrush, turn it off, put the toothpaste on, and turn it back off again. Like, I know some people are going to say like, oh, you're wasting time. Listen, I'd rather waste time and make sure that I've got water in a few years, and especially since I want to have children, I want them to be able to have water, you know, because these things we take for granted, we may not have this in a few years. And like, I know in London, a lot of people typically tend to get on the trains. That's good. A lot more people could do with getting on the trains rather than driving and, you know, driving their cars and everything, and, you know, getting all the gas and whatever everywhere. Like, but if you can't do that, like, I do think like the government needs to have more incentives in place so people can afford these electric cars, because like, the electric cars are very expensive, but they are more efficient. So, you know, they need to have something in place so that people can actually, you know, say, oh yeah, let me get an electric car, one that's actually affordable, one that can actually do the job, like, so I can have a car, get to my job or whatever, and still be able to, you know, contribute to making the environment. I feel like even with me putting out these ideas out there, I still think there's going to be some people who are going to be like, oh, global warming is a myth or whatever, blah blah blah. Like, you just have to see what's happening in these countries, in these predominantly black and brown countries, to know that things are just getting worse. And you've got to say it's, oh, because the government are releasing shit into the environment. Like, stop that, please. Listen, you guys driving around in your gas guzzling cars and you thinking that it's not hitting the ozone layer? Don't be stupid. Yes. These 2 videos that I'm doing right now have finished. So I shall see you later on to do another video on Marcus Garvey. Alright, bye.